What's up guys, Cass here from GiveWave Studios, and on this one I'm going to show you guys how to turn these 7 pieces that you see right here into these light up blades from Demon Slayer or any type of anime really. I'm going to have different types of DIY kits. This one is Tanjiro from Kimetsu no Yaiba with the blue for the water style. This is the one that we're going to be working on, as you can see from the DIY kit. This is the Love Hashira, also from Demon Slayer, with the pink glow from her sword. This is a custom Inosuke, Cyber Inosuke, that I'm going to be working on for Katsucon. As you can see, this has a green glow, but the included remote control allows you to change between modes, between colors, to make it whatever you see fit. Okay, so different DIY kits will be for different characters, spanning over different fandoms. So I'm gonna have, like, for example, Psylocke from X-Men with a psionic blade, but the assembly will always be the same. So you'll always have the same 7 pieces, just different designs. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do is remove the protective layer from our acrylic blade, and then what we're gonna do is sand that down with an 800 grit, or a little higher, a little less. Just sand that down, roughen it up, make it nice and matte, and then I'll catch you guys for the next step. So once you're done with the first side, go ahead and remove the tape on the other side. You're going to see that this surface is now obviously glossy and super reflective, unlike your other side that you just sanded, which is now nice and matte. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing to the other glossy side now, and I'll catch you guys for the next step. Okay, you're done sanding your blade on both sides. Go ahead and wipe it down. Make sure that it's sanded evenly. If there is anything that looks uneven, put it back on the table. Sand it again until you have evenness on both sides. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to use some super glue to glue our light strip to the top of our piece here. Okay, all the way down. You're going to want to make sure that the very first light is almost at the very tip of your blade, right? Barely making it to the very end there, so that when we cover it, you don't get like any light leakage. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to that step and catch you guys for it. Alright, once your strip is installed, you're going to go ahead and put your blade on its side, standing up on the side like this, and notice how it is nice and diffused right now. It's very nicely sanded, so you just want to get that kind of finish from your sanding. And if anything is uneven, feel free to just turn it back around, sand it back again until you get everything nice and even. If you don't get an even surface, it's going to show when you shine your lights through it, and it's not going to be pretty. Okay, at this stage of the game, you do want to make sure that your lights are working, so go ahead and grab your the rest of your light pack, which contains your remote and the receiver. Okay, what we're going to do in this case, we're going to plug this in. So in this case here, the white string corresponds to this little red arrow here. Make sure that the 5 volt is going to the 5 volt. And so once we plug this in, like so, turn the power on, as you can see, our blade turns on. Okay, and that's all that is. So if you plug it in one way, it doesn't work. Just turn it around and plug it the other way is basically what I'm trying to say. Make sure that all of your modes are working. Okay, everything's changing, blah, blah, blah. And then now we can turn this off. So we know that we're good on that front. Okay, so blade on the side, you're going to grab the carbon fiber decal strip that comes with your kit. If you don't want to do this carbon fiber, you want to do something else, any other type of vinyl will work. You can go to a craft store, get some vinyl, and do the step that I'm about to do here. You can also do this with EVA foam. Like if you did like a 2mm EVA foam strip, you can do the same thing with different types of materials. So what I'm going to do first is peel my decal off, and this is a really sensitive part of the build. You're going to want to put this down in the middle, and it's kind of have to put yourself at the right angle to like see down the shaft, and then just kind of run this. Okay, and once I feel I'm kind of in the middle, I can go ahead and run my finger down the top of the strip. Make sure that this lays down flat. And then one side at a time, I'm going to bend my strip over to the other side. Okay, start at the tip, one side at a time, bring it down. You want to try to avoid as many creases as possible, so it might take a couple of tries, glues and re-glues to do this, but eventually you just want to fold this down flat onto the blade as well as the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to that step and catch you guys for the next one. Alright, now how well these align on the left and the right are really going to depend on how good of a job you did making sure that it was put on the center and folded left and right. I have a little bit of overlap here, but not enough that I feel the need to go ahead and fix it. If I did want to fix this, I could just grab a ruler, you know, put it on a straight line, maybe measure from my brim down, and then cut and use that same measurement to cut on the other side. But as it is, I'm satisfied with this. The only other thing I'm going to do is, in order to mimic the blade tip here, I'm going to go ahead and make a cut similar to that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this awl. You can use a pencil or a pen, anything of the sort. And what I'm going to do is draw a thin line from one edge to the other to kind of mimic the loop of this blade right here. I don't want to take too much away from the top where the light source is coming, so I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm a little bit underneath it where I start my line to cut, and then I'm going to end up right here like that. So it's not too crazy. So what I'm going to do is cut this on one side like so. Okay, I'm going to take this piece out, and I'm going to use this piece to inform my cut on the other side. So I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to put it right there at the edge. Probably glue it to my finger because it won't stick to it, but if I just leave it there, I get a sense of where it is that line was before. So I'm just going to use that to mimic that exact same curve on this side. Doesn't have to be perfect, you just want some form of guidelines there so you know where you're going. Okay, I have my lines. I'm going to go ahead and do my cut. Okay, take that out. Nice, perfect on both ends. Okay, now, moment of truth. I have my masking. I'm going to test my lights one more time. Perfect. No leaks, no cuts. It can be very dangerous when you get to, let me turn this off so you guys can see. When you get to this area right here, where the strip is wider than the actual blade, so there's a little bit of a gap here that's just an air pocket, really, that just kind of angles down towards the blade. You want to be sure not to press too much right here, because you can rip this. Obviously, if you guys decide to do this out of a stronger material like EVA foam, for example, or like 2mm foam, you can use contact cement to glue this down, and you don't have to worry too much about pressing in here to get any type of shape that you want. But with this thin vinyl, you got to be careful about that. But all right, so that's pretty much it as far as prep for the blade. Okay, So now we're going to go ahead and grab our handle and assemble the rest. So this is what a 3D printed handle looks like. You guys are most likely going to receive this style that looks more like a Katana Blade handle, but you're going to receive it raw. So it's going to not necessarily be this color. It could be white, pink, purple, blue, red, or that gold, whatever filament I have. At the end of the day, you still have to paint it. You still have to sand, prime, paint, weather it if you'd like, or maybe you can even do the wrap around it, whatever it is that you'd like to do. If you wanted to do a two-tone design, for example, you could grab some masking tape and put it over the little triangle. You can grab something like a screwdriver or maybe like a pencil and just kind of make sure that the tape goes into the creases of your design, like so, and then you would grab an X-Acto, just kind of cut along the lines of where your masking tape was able to access. Get you some nice sticky tape too, not this stuff that just comes off for any particular reason, because that's definitely going to help with your masking. And there you go. Now you can paint the whole thing. These will be masked, and then when you peel them off, like here, for example, like so, you'll have a nice dual tone effect going. Okay, so that is just a little bit on how to prep this if you want to do something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish with this guy, and then I'll show you guys how to actually glue it together. So as you guys can see, I've been using the pieces, the masking pieces that I took off to put on this material, which has like this really cool reflective property, and I'm going to cut them out and put that material back in that space instead. So that's also something that you can do if the base color is not something that you like. You can also use the same masking pieces to replace it with something else. You can do carbon fiber, you can do wood, you can do any type of vinyl decal. Okay, so once your handle is prepped and painted to the point that you like it, and also once your guard is also prepped and painted to the point that you're happy with it, you're going to grab your blade, okay, and you're going to slide this end into the slot here on the top of your guard, if that's what it's called. I do think it's called guard. Okay, slide that in there and try to get your piece in without messing your vinyl up too bad. Okay, and just do a test fit, make sure that everything works before you actually glue this, because that's going to be our next step. So we slide that in, that's ready. We're going to go ahead and plug in our power. Okay, again, just test one more time to make sure that everything's working. Cool. And so while that's there, we're going to go ahead and slide our battery back in. Okay, tuck the wire back on the inside, like so. Okay, as well as bring our battery pack back in. Okay, so there should be enough room that all of this fits in nice and tight on the inside, and then you can go ahead and seal that with your closure. Okay? And that is pretty much our sword, as you can see. Okay, so once you're sure that everything fits, everything works within the walls, everything is good, so now we're just going to go ahead and glue those pieces together. So for our glue, we're going to use this 5-minute epoxy. This has a strength of 1500 psi. There's also a 2-ton epoxy. The 2-ton one, however, takes 24 hours to dry or cure. This one only takes about 5 minutes. I usually give it about 15 minutes to really be sure. Super easy. Okay, it's exactly what the name says. It's a glue that's in 2 parts. So we're gonna put a little dab. You don't need a lot, so I'm gonna do, it's like a little glob of the part A, and I'm gonna do an equally big glob of the part B, and I'm just going to mix those two together. You can do this with anything that's flat that you have laying around. You can do it with like a screwdriver or a plastic knife or anything like that. So just kind of mix it up nice and good until you feel like the 2 parts are well mixed together. You have a little bit of time to work with this, so you don't need to rush through the process. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of that, and I'm going to apply it to this bottom part of my blade here. Okay. So that sticks to the wall of the 3D print that it's going to go into. I'm going to do a little bit at the bottom of the piece as well. Okay. And obviously same amount on the other side. This is not something that you want to put too much of. If you want to put a lot, put more at the bottom. Don't glob it on the sides, because when you push that in, that's going to push up, and that's going to make for some really ugly seams. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and slide that in. Okay, making sure that that goes in as straight as possible. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing for our handle, except that we're just going to put it on our edge here. If you end up painting your handle before you glue it, as you can see I have some paint here on the edges, it's a good idea to sand it down. As you can see here, I took the paint off of the edges. Sand it down, obviously at the top, where you're going to glue it. This will roughen up the surface of this area here, so that the glue has a little something to bite onto. Because if you try to put it and it still has paint on there, it's not going to be as strong of a bond as if it's making contact directly with the 3D printed part without the layer of glue in between. Just keep that in mind. At the very top, and we'll put a little bit on the sides as well. You can also do this on the inside here instead, whatever makes it easier for you. Go ahead and put some on the inside of this, just so I'm sure that I have good gluage all over. So notice how a little bit of the glue goes a long way. I'm probably going to end up with just a slight bit of excess, with just a little bit of amount that I made, because I don't need a huge amount again. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to make sure that I slide my part in. You also want to make sure that this is connected first, because it might be hard to access it on the inside. Okay, so one more time, plug it in, make sure it works. Okay, that we have the right direction, and then we can just slide that in. Try not to get it on the cable as you're putting it in there. Just keep it separate from everything. Okay. And then that goes right there. Okay. And so we just want to let that sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll check back on it in a little bit. Okay, our sword is now dry and can be swung around. Now, again, this is a prop. Don't go swinging this at full force, but you know, you can move around and do some poses for video and whatnot have you. Okay, I've already tucked my wire in. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that my battery's on. Now remember, not all batteries are gonna have this little power button. Some of them you just plug and they play. This one's a little bit more annoying. I'm gonna try not to ship these out because you have to press the button in order to power it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and twist this in here. Okay, I like to turn on. Push my wiring in. Use my cap to seal everything. And there we go. We have a light up sword. Okay, and of course, with your remote, you can change the colors to whatever it is that you would like your blade to be. You can even go through modes, different types of modes, different flashing modes, fading modes, however you'd like it. Okay, so that is pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope it was useful. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comment section of the video. I try to get back to them as often as possible. Alright, this has been Cass from GiveWave Studios, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.